Hello once more. In today's video, part 3, we're going to take you through the early years of the Christian church to see if there is any evidence of an authoritative and infallible church. What I found blew me away, and I hope it does the same for you. So let's get right at it. So when we look at the one true church in the early years, we have to start in the Bible. In Acts 15, I spoke about this church in part 1, my first video, and talking about how the central church made the decision that Gentiles, newly converted Gentiles, did not need to be circumcised. And I don't think there'd be anyone that would disagree that this is the one true church. I mean, if you were a Christian in 50 AD or 70 AD, this is the church you belonged to. You adhered to what this church said was true. And so I started thinking, well, is there any other church that exhibited a similar amount of authority and infallibility in later years? And I found that there was. There was a similar councils that were set up in 325 and 381 AD in Nicaea and Constantinople. The issue they had then was this group called the Arians believed that Jesus was not God, that he was created by the Father, and so thus they were denying the Trinity. So all of the bishops, all of the church leaders got together, similar to what they did in the Jerusalem Council. And what they were decided upon was they developed the Nicene Creed. The Nicene Creed was the beliefs in the Trinity, necessity for baptism for the forgiveness of sins, and they made a very bold statement that they were the one holy Catholic apostolic church. And so I started thinking, these councils conveyed and displayed authority as the one true church. All Christians, if you were a Christian, you were held accountable to what they believed. And if you didn't believe that, you weren't really considered a Christian. And so that authority extended then to excommunications. And I started thinking, well, if you're going to excommunicate someone, that means you have to have authority. I mean, if you invited me over to your home for a dinner party, and I started throwing people out because I didn't like them or I didn't like their beliefs and everything, you would say, you can't do that. Well, why can't I do that? It's because I don't have the authority to do that. It's not my house. So when you're excommunicating and saying you're no longer a part of this church, that's authority. And I started asking myself the question, if they weren't the one true church, then who was? There was no real opposition. You would think that the real one true church would have stood up and said, hold on a second. You're not the one holy Catholic apostolic church. We are. No one did that, which got me thinking, maybe they are the one true church. Said that. So I started asking myself, is that church of the Nicaea and Constantinople councils actually the authoritative and infallible one true church? So I just did a very simple exercise because they made some serious claims here. So I asked myself, okay, either they are the one true church or they're not. So I asked some people, if they're not, where was that true church? Or one person said, well, the one true church was in hiding. I thought to myself, in hiding? You mean that same church where Peter and Paul were in prison and tortured, where Stephen was martyred, and 11 of the 12 apostles were martyred? That church was in hiding and cowardly? Goes against everything that church history shows us. And souls would be at risk. If the church was in hiding, how is I, as a believer, where would I know what the truth is? Where's that beacon of truth? That means Satan would have prevailed. There's no way that the church was in hiding. Other people told me, well, the one true church was defeated for a time, that there was a one true church, the apostolic church, but after that, it was defeated. I'm like, well, hold on a second. But then Satan was able to prevail over the church. How could you say then that souls weren't lost then? Because if there was no church and it was defeated, how do I, as a believer, how would I know what the truth is? No way. There's no way that the church was ever defeated. So then others tell me, well, Ernie, there was no one true church. Well, then we have the chaos we have today. I can't tell what's truth. I can't tell what's false. And what about that apostolic church? Are you telling me that the church of the apostles, Acts 15, they were not the one true church? Nope. That's not right as well. The only thing that made sense to me is that they are the one true church, and this is what they believe in. It's the only thing that was reasonable and made sense to me. So then I thought, you know what? Maybe I need to go a little bit deeper because I just don't want to accept this at this point. Let's go a little bit deeper into what this church claimed, because they claim to be the one true church, one holy Catholic apostolic. This blew me away. When I dug deeper into what this church believed, these councils developed canons or decrees of what is truth. They decreed basically that there is the Eucharist, that there is church hierarchy, that there is succession and church authority. This is actually what they said, that you don't have authority to appoint candidates of their choice without the consent of the bishop of the Catholic Church. The bishop of the Catholic Church has authority. They actually said when, in essence, we are going to celebrate Easter. They have the authority to do that. They actually said who had a valid baptism. And then this one blew me away. They talked about the Eucharist. This is their words. Those that are departing, those that are near death, are not to be deprived of their last most necessary viaticum. I didn't know what that was. What does viaticum mean? It means the Eucharist that is given to a person near or in danger of death. And I'm thinking to myself, why would a piece of bread, if the Eucharist is truly just a symbol, if John chapter 6 is to be interpreted symbolically, why would the bread be most necessary? That made no sense to me at all. The only thing that made sense is that Jesus is truly present in the Eucharist. That's why it becomes most necessary. That's the only reason why it becomes most necessary. I started to think, my goodness, this early church aligned an awful lot like the Catholic Church. And it's the beginning of what I found out to be an unbroken chain of beliefs from 33 AD to the present. So the answer to, can we identify that authoritative and infallible church in earlier times? Yes. There is evidence of a one true church that is both authoritative and infallible, both in Acts 15 and in the councils of Nicaea and Constantinople in the 4th century. It is one holy, Catholic, and apostolic, and no one disputed that, other than maybe the heretics that were excommunicated. So in my next video, I want to answer them. Is the Catholic Church the one true church protected by Jesus? That's what we're going to tackle in the next video. Thank you so much for listening. Sorry this one was a little bit longer, but there was a lot to talk about. And I'll see you in the next video. That will be, I promise, a bit shorter. Thank you. God bless you.